Hi everyone. This is just a quick tutorial on how to get your CH HOTAS gear working in the Star Citizen Dogfight Module using the CH Control Manager. This isn't really an in-depth tutorial on how to create a detailed map or anything, but just enough so that you can get the game up and running and using your stuff. So obviously the first thing you're going to want to do is open the Control Manager. And when you do, you're going to want to click this icon here, which is your map wizard. So click that, and then this is going to ask you which devices you want to add to your custom map. So in my case here, I've got the fighter stick, the Pro Throttle, and the Pro Pedals are the three devices I'm going to add. So hit OK. Second thing it's going to ask you is it says Control Manager has the ability to combine multiple devices to form a single Windows joystick 1. This here basically means it's going to take all three of your devices and combine them into a single logical controller. You want to click yes here. Star Citizen, it seems it will recognize more than one device, but it'll map them in a strange order, or like no one seems to be able to figure that out. So you definitely want to hit yes to map all your devices into one. Then here it's just you're setting your default axes and buttons. You can leave that as is. Then the next one is just asking if you want to use CMS scripting. Depending on your comfort level with Control Manager, you can use this or not. You don't really need it for this map because we're just doing a really basic kind of thing here. So you can hit no there, fine, and then click Finish to return to Control Manager. All right, so here we can see our three devices added to the Control Manager. So the very first thing we're going to want to do is swap our X and R axes. So your X-axis by default is on your stick, and your R-axis is the one on the pedals. Now, for some reason, CIG maps the R-axis to yaw and your X-axis to roll. So if you want to change it so that yaw and pitch are on your stick, all you have to do is take this drop down, change it to R, go back to your pedals, and change your R to X. And what that'll do is that'll put your yaw on your stick. So yaw and pitch, like your primary directional controls, will be on your stick, and then roll will be on your pedals. The next thing you're going to want to do is probably map a few of your trigger buttons here. In my map, what I do is I've got my main trigger here mapped as DirectX joystick button 1, which is fine. That'll fire weapon group 1. I have this second button up here mapped to weapon group 2 as joystick button 2, which is fine. Now, the third problem you run into, though, is missiles. In the DFM, missiles are mapped to your mouse scroll wheel click. Now, obviously, that's kind of not useful on a joystick. So what I did is I mapped my missiles to this little button here for lock, fire, and arm. So what you're going to need to do is go over here where it says DirectX device. You're going to want to change that to mouse. So that what this will do is the Control Manager will interpret any movements from this button now as a mouse click. And you're going to want to change that to button 3. Most mice have the first and second buttons as their left and right click, and then button 3 is your mouse scroll wheel click. So if you go mouse and button 3, you'll now be able to use this little button down here to select, lock, and fire your missiles. As for configuring the rest of the controls, I basically disabled DirectX mode and then just directly mapped anything I wanted. So you can play around with it and see how exactly you want to map your controls, what works well for you. What I'll do here is I'll load my map to show you how I have mine set up right now for the Dogfight module. So anyway, so once you're done here, you'll want to hit save to save your map. If you have one already, you can overwrite it. So I'm just going to load up mine. So what I have on my stick here, this hat here, you can see I've mapped to the different targeting controls using the buttons. So T for next hostile target, R for nearest hostile target, Y for just next target, and G to pin my target. And those are just mapped to the 4 directions. You can see them kind of going around up here for the keyboard commands. Now, by default, all these buttons are in DirectX mode, so they're interpreted. They'll be as, like, for example, CM device 1 and then button whatever. And because it's pretty hard to figure out how the dogfighting module actually has those mapped, what you want to do is you just want to disable DirectX mode and just type in the keystroke you want, or under normal action for when you press the button. You can do that for all your buttons all the way around. So for example, I have my targeting controls there. I've got some other radar controls on this lower hat here. Down arrow here I just left as default. I haven't mapped it to anything, so it defaults to button 11, which probably doesn't do anything. For example, on this other hat switch over here, which is the lower one, this is my chafe and flare. So for example, X was select which countermeasure, and Z is launch it. So I just have this mapped to the left and right buttons there. So I can use move the hat to the left to select flare, move it to the right to launch. Right now the up and down motions on it don't do anything. What else on here? I mapped this little button over here to eject. So that's Alt L. Now, if you want to actually map a control combination like that in here, again, what you do is you have to take it out of DirectX mode so you get this. Just go record keystrokes. And this one's the left Alt key and L. So just hold down left Alt, press L, let it out, and that'll say, yep, press right Alt, press L, great, exit, and there you go. Hold right Alt and L, and that key's now mapped to eject, which is great. On the throttle, similarly, you can map a lot of the buttons the same. The way I've done mine on here is I've got my HUD controls mapped to this upper four-way hat here. So these are, for example, the keypad buttons. And again, I just use the record keystrokes and hit the button on the keypad. So this will let me move through the HUD and select the different options. I use two of these buttons back here to control the rest of the HUD. So for example, this one here is keypad 5, which is kind of like your enter button for the HUD. My middle button cycles through the different HUDs, the 4 of them that are available right now. I mapped the third one here to caps lock, which of course enables decoupled mode. So you can quickly tap that, pitch, do whatever, tap it again to quickly re-enable. I'm not sure I like it there because I've hit it accidentally a couple of times, so I'm probably going to move that one. And that's another important point with the HOTAS, guys. Never be afraid to mess with your control maps and change it. It's one of the beauties of a HOTAS system is you can completely customize it the way you want it. I see a lot of forum posts where people going on, oh, I need a, anyone have a custom map for this or a custom map for that, because I want to use my joystick or my HOTAS. Well, one of the beauties of joystick, or at least a HOTAS system like this is, you don't need someone to create a map for you. You can go and create your own, and it takes about 10 to 20 minutes maybe, and it's you can customize it exactly how you want it. So don't be afraid to mess around with this stuff and try it out. It took me about half an hour to create my map the other night and load up the program 3 or 4 times. Just made note of what controls I used and where I wanted them. And like I said, I don't really like caps here, so I'm probably going to reassign it somewhere else. Anyway, so moving on, the other one I did here on my end hat switch, I only have the one action on the right map to it. The rest are just still in DirectX mode. Oh, no, sorry, I did map the lower one there. Oh, they're mapped to the same thing. Anyway, so this one here, I mapped control caps to cycle, the comp assist and G toggling. I'm probably going to move caps over here. Again, same thing. If you have control caps on there, you can just go record keystrokes, hit control, caps lock, release control, and that records your control caps. Down here, this is where I map my afterburners just to that one direction. Interestingly enough, I seem getting consistent behavior there. When I hold it down, sometimes it goes for the entire duration the afterburners are to. Sometimes it's as if I just tap the left shift key. And I've tested that behavior both with the button and holding down the shift key on the keyboard. And it seems to just be an inconsistent behavior with using left shift on this hat switch. So I'm going to have to do some more testing there and see what's causing that. But it works really well for the most part. And again, it's easy to reach. I know this point of view hat mapped to anything. This little doohickey here, this is the analog joystick on the throttle, which is great. You can see here I have this mapped to the horizontal and vertical translation you use in decoupled mode. Now, one important thing I need to point out here is by default, steps is set at 2. That means that it's just going to do increments when you go up and down. Now, obviously, you don't want that. You want it to act as if it holds the button down. So if you want it to act so that when you are increasing the axis, that's how that interprets it, increasing and decreasing the axis. You want to set that at 1. And if you set that at 1 and do your E and Q, then it's going to treat it that the entire time that axis is increasing, which is basically going positive on Y. It's going to treat it as if you're just holding the E key down, and likewise when you move it downward, it's going to treat it as you're holding the Q key down. And then same thing with the X on this. You want to map to A and D, and it's the same idea. The only disadvantage to doing this is obviously you can't use, for example, both your vertical and horizontal at the exact same time. Hopefully this is something they kind of fix in Star Citizen. But right now you can only do kind of one at a time. You just kind of have to maneuver with the two of them if you're ever in decoupled mode. It sounds a little more awkward than it is in practice. It actually works out pretty well. But that's just something to be aware of. Anyway, and that's basically it for my simple map. I haven't really mapped anything to my tow things here. But this map lets me fly completely hands-off the keyboard in the current dogfighting module. So I'll go show you kind of how that works in game. So the last thing I need to point out here is after you save your map, make sure you click this button here, which is downloads and compiles the CMS script. So that's what actually enables the joystick. So if you don't click that, your map won't work, and you'll be using whatever map was in the joystick last time.
Origin Jump Works at your service. Core system operational.
Alright, so we're in the game now, and on our stick we have pitch and yaw mapped, which is quite effective and feels way better than having pitch and yaw mapped, sorry, pitch and roll mapped on the stick. The throttle maps straight ahead without any issues, so you don't need to worry about changing any of those axes up. Roll on the pedals works fine. You know, it just feels so much better just having your pitch and yaw on the stick and then your roll on the pedals. In my opinion, anyway, it feels significantly more natural for flying. It makes maneuvering significantly easier. You know, just having your primary directional controls on the stick. And the other changes were things we had mapped in our HOTAS here, was our HUD. The center button on the throttle, we can quickly cycle through all our different HUDs, which is great if you're in combat or sub. You can have it set on your energy settings, see what your weapons are doing, and then just quickly tap it over to your shields. Great, back to your weapons. We had our hat switch mapped to move our cursor around in here, which is great. And then our other button for selecting, so you can manipulate your HUD in its entirety just off your throttle quadrant there. You don't actually have to touch the keyboard, which is of course the purpose of a HOTAS system. Like I said, flares and chafe is mapped on the stick, so we can select those.
Chaff launched.
Launched.
Flare launched.
Unfortunately, I remapped my external view button, and I don't have an insert key on my keyboard. I have one on the numpad, but that doesn't work. So I can't go to external view. That was mapped to one of the targeting hats when we moved that one right. So that was remapped, so we don't have external view right now. But anyway, the basic point I'm getting at it is you can fly this now completely hands off the keyboard. You don't need to touch the keyboard at all when you're just flying around, and even when you're dogfighting, you don't need to touch the keyboard. We have our G-state and column stop we can take off without issues. Like I said, we mapped one to decoupled mode, so you can easily kick in and out of decoupled mode at your will. And then having the strife and the lateral and vertical movement on the thumbstick is really nice. You can move that around, go whichever directions you need there. So I just find this a very useful map. It makes controlling much easier, and just great for general gameplay. So you don't even touch the keyboard at all, which is what a HOTAS is all about. So that's just a basic kind of 101 on how to map a CH Products HOTAS to Star Citizen. If you're looking to do anything more advanced, there's some very knowledgeable people on the RSI forum in the hardware section who know a lot more about the control manager than I do. But if you have any basic questions, or you're just having trouble getting it up and running, let me know, and I'm happy to help. Hope this video was helpful.